Evergrande is a major force in the China's vast property market, which totals well over $40 trillion dollars, and if we include the construction and property related goods and services, it is around 29% of China's total GDP. Therefore, a deterioration of this sector could lead to a liquidity crunch that would plunge China into economic recession, and consequently, the volcano of global financial crisis will erupt. In the case of UK, USA, and many Western countries, where those companies that are too big to fail are bailed out at the expense of taxpayers, which forces them to pay even more taxes in future. But Chinese government dares to be different and won't come to the rescue of Evergrande. Chinese government has also restricted reckless lending to a sector that is on the verge of annihilation. So I don't have a slightest of doubt that Evergrande is on the verge of a collapse. Before we proceed, if you like the content, please like the video and leave the comment to bless the YouTube algorithm. I will appreciate your support and it will keep my motivation high to create quality content for you each week. The situation of Evergrande has been critical since September, which has caused panic in the stock markets around the world. With around 300 billion US dollars in debt, which is equal to 2% of the entire Chinese GDP, its bankruptcy can severely impede Chinese growth. The whole empire of Evergrande was forged on huge debt, which has been accumulated for many years, and the steroid of debt, which fuels its tremendous growth, is also about to obliterate it. The real reason behind the demise of Evergrande is the Chinese government's crackdown on the criteria for borrowing. Even though Evergrande is yet to taste the bitter medicine of bankruptcy, the stock exchanges around the world have already entered the panic mode. Evergrande has more than 1,300 construction projects across China, as well as financial products, electric cars, livestock, bottled water, and even a football club. And now, with all these financial troubles, these projects will be left hanging in the air with no financial support whatsoever. And don't just take my word for it. Experts around the world are expecting a financial crash that could result due to the bankruptcy of just one company that was too big to fail. The situation is indeed critical and it has put at risk up to 24 billion in international bonds. And of course, the market has reacted to the current events. In a statement, Evergrande said it could not guarantee to perform its financial obligations. Following this, Dr. Marco Metzler, who is a senior analyst for DMSA, said 23.7 billion in international bonds is now at risk. Dr. Metzler, who has also invested in Evergrande, had previously said that the property giant has missed 5 deadlines for bond interest repayments. He warned that the collapse of the property giant is about to send shock waves through the global financial system. Now, what is going to come next is shocking. It shows how the people have been misled about the whole situation. Dr. Metzler said, "We are vindicated by this official statement. We have still not received the interest on our bonds, although it has been widely reported in the press that interest payments have been made on bonds where interest payments were past due in October and November 2021. This declaration represents an event of default for all 23 outstanding international bonds valued at $23.7 billion. And right after Evergrande's recent statement that said it could not guarantee to perform its financial obligations, the government of China's Guangdong province have summoned Evergrande's chair Hui Kaiyan. As Evergrande crumbles and it gets one step closer to bankruptcy by the day, it has no cash left to complete its ongoing projects. And the situation has deteriorated to such an extent that Chinese authorities have taken over the Gensler designed under construction $1.7 billion Evergrande Guangzhou football stadium, commissioned by indebted property developer Evergrande, which was due to become the world's largest football stadium by capacity. The Chinese government will either sell or take over the stadium via the state-owned Guangzhou City Construction Investment Group. The construction on the stadium has been halted for at least 3 months, in which Evergrande has been struggling to meet repayments on over 300 billion of debt. Now, in this dire situation, Evergrande is desperate, and it even sold its entire stake in Chinese streaming company Hang Ten for $273 million to increase liquidity for paying off debts. The company faces its next deadline on December 28th, where it will face an interest payment of $255 million. It then faces 2 further repayments on January 22nd and January 24th next year, totaling $352 million. If the company were to collapse, it will have terrible consequences for the property market in China and therefore for the entire Chinese economy. And let me tell you that no economy is an island. We are in a connected world, and even Fed has admitted that the gloomy picture of real estate sector in China will indeed have consequences for not just the Chinese economy but also for the US economy. First, let's have a look at the consequences for the Chinese economy. So Fed has warned that since many Chinese developers are diversified into other sectors of the economy, therefore the financial stress will permeate into other sectors of the Chinese economy too. This will result in slowing down of entire Chinese economy and could cause social unrest in China. And surely it will have consequences for the economies around the globe, including USA, because the drop in Chinese stocks and deflation could spread through the global trade channels as China cuts its purchases of goods from other countries. And the local governments in China are also going to suffer tremendously since the sale of the lands to the builders have not only slowed down drastically, but at the same time, they are not able to sell them with premium as before. The reason is that the builders are currently very risk averse and will not like to deplete their cash reserves since the overall outlook of the property market is gloomy and uncertain. This means that the main source of revenue for the local governments has shrunk. And Evergrande is not alone in the boat. Many Chinese developers have defaulted, and by the last week of October, 9 Chinese builders had already defaulted. One of the most prominent ones was Modern Land, which defaulted on $250 million of bonds, making it the 9th real estate developer to miss a debt payment this year. The Beijing-based developer unsuccessfully tried to bail itself out by seeking an extension on the bond's maturity and selling a stake in its property management affiliate. And on December 6th, Chinese developer Sunshine 100 China Holdings Limited joined the list, which defaulted on a $170 million bond due to liquidity issues. Sunshine 100 has repeatedly failed to meet its debt obligations this year and also defaulted on a bond repayment back in August. The company has $385 million of outstanding dollar notes according to data compiled by Bloomberg. And if that was not enough, another Chinese developer Kaiser proposed to extend maturity with 400 million offshore bonds expiration. Just like many other Chinese developers, Kaiser is facing liquidity pressure, and in a desperate attempt to raise funds, it wants to sell assets including the Hong Kong listed real estate management unit Kaiser Property Holdings. So what is the Chinese government doing in the case of Evergrande? We all know that it won't bail it out. So here is what the Chinese government has been up to lately. Chinese authorities have told Evergrande's billionaire founder to use his own money to pay down the company's $300 billion debt. The directive was issued after the real estate behemoth missed an initial September 23rd deadline to pay an 84 million coupon on a dollar bond. Evergrande later paid the coupon during the note's 30-day grace period. Now, will this bold action of Chinese authorities be enough to rescue Evergrande? Obviously not, since Hui's fortune alone is not enough to rescue the debt-laden property developer. And as the situation worsens and approaches a point of no return, government officials held a set of meetings where the company's chairman Hui Kaiyan met with officials. After this meeting, the government agreed to send a working group that would oversee risk management, strengthen internal controls, and maintain normal operations. From here, China's central bank, the People's Bank of China, got involved, reassuring that any potential effects of an Evergrande collapse on the market could be contained. However, it would not guarantee that this mitigation would be done through a bailout. The People's Bank of China said Evergrande's problem was mainly caused by its own mismanagement and breakneck expansion, and it would not allow the collapse of one single firm to undermine its markets. Now, what will happen next? No one knows for sure, but analysts have offered a variety of predictions regarding how an Evergrande's collapse could impact the global economy. Some have said it could be China's Lehman moment, referring to the bankruptcy of former US bank Lehman Brothers that helped precipitate the 2008 financial crisis. Others have affirmed that the situation could be contained. Given the Chinese government's vast regulatory powers, including the People's Bank itself. Also, according to International Monetary Fund's chief economist Geeta Gopinath, China has the tools and the policy space to prevent this turning into a systematic crisis. But I am convinced that the collapse of Evergrande will act as yet another bitter ingredient in the already complex cocktail of inflation, supply chain issues, stock market bubble, and housing bubble in USA, UK, Canada, and many other Western countries as well as Russia. Therefore, this crisis has surfaced at the worst possible time. So, with all these mushrooms popping up simultaneously, the collapse of China's real estate sector will send shockwaves across all the major economies of the world. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about the ongoing problems in Chinese real estate sector? Do you think that the bankruptcy of Evergrande will result in a global economic crisis? Thank you for your time and appreciating my content. If you like such videos, please consider subscribing. I publish videos on personal finance, investing, and macroeconomic outlook of the economies around the globe each week. Also, please comment on the video and leave a like to bless the YouTube algorithm. I will appreciate your support. Also, I have mentioned a link to BlockFi in the description, which will give you up to $250 worth of free Bitcoin when you use it. It will also give you 9% interest on stable coins, which is way higher than the 0.5 or 1% interest which you will get when you put your money in the savings account with a bank. Have a nice day and I will see you in the next video.